Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Showcast, a series of podcast conversations from film festivals and film markets everywhere, presented by The Film Verdict and hosted by yours truly, Matt Micucci. In this episode, we will be highlighting two films presented within the program of the 2023 Berlin International Film Festival, sharing conversations with directors who presented stories seen from a distinctly and unapologetic female perspective. Someday we'll tell each other everything from the official competition, and Silver Haze from the Panorama section. So fire up an audio teeny and listen to the audio waves as they fly through the air. And in the first conversation of this episode of the Showcast, we will be speaking with globe-trotting renegade filmmaker Emily Atef, who presented at this year's Berlinale competition a film titled Someday We'll Tell Each Other Everything. Set in a warm summer in 1990 in former East Germany, this adaptation follows a young woman who begins a relationship with a charismatic farmer who is twice her age. A tale of erotic obsession and despair that you can find out more about in my conversation with the director coming up right now. Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you on our little podcast series called Showcast and here in Berlin.
Super. Very happy to be here. Love Ireland.
Yes.
I love it. So
very exciting, of course, because we're going to be talking about your new film. Someday we'll tell each other everything. There's so much that I want to talk about. First of all, of course, this film is based on a novel. Yeah. And I wondered whether you could tell me a little bit about how that, that novel kind of caught your attention. And I understand that you also collaborated with Daniela Krieg, the novelist, quite closely. And it was like a collaboration that kind of began a while back. So yeah, just a little bit about that.
So I read the novel 2012, and I have never read a novel where I saw the film in front of me. From the beginning, middle to the end, I saw the film. I knew I had to make it. There's something in her language which is very cinematic. It's very raw. It's in this book, what caught me is the archaic, raw, sexual relationship of desire, the female perspective of a young woman, which I rarely saw depicted that way. A young woman on the countryside that falls for a guy 2 times her age. She emancipates herself from what society tells us what young women should desire, or more like young women should not desire, but maybe just be desired. And she knows that she might get burnt, going with him, but she needs to go to her limits. And that was so fascinating of wanting to experience. She just wants to experience it. What really interested me is the fact that it's the first summer, very hot summer, after the wall came down, but in the countryside. Usually you see films from, the wall came down, so Berlin, Leipzig, Dresden. But I've very rarely seen that in the countryside. And when I was talking to Daniela, you have to experience this way that they had their TV and they saw the wall come down in Berlin, far away, but that was far. And then the next day, nothing changed in their place. They go to milk the cows and then do this, do that. Nothing changes. And then little by little, it starts to change. And this is 6 months after the wall came down. And you see this family. She lives on the farm with her boyfriend of his family who take her in. And you see that everybody is kind of trying to understand what's happening. Like a country just died and a new one is starting. And everyone is thinking about, how am I going to deal with this, come clear with this? And then you have the winners of that time and the losers. For example, Johannes, her boyfriend is a clear winner. For him, the fact that the wall is down, the world is open, and he starts to realize that he wants to be an artist, a photographer, and he becomes obsessed by it. Same thing with his father, who's a farmer, who gets land back, who sees the opportunity to get more land. Yeah. And then there's the losers, like the uncle or Maria's mother, who from one day to the other lose their job in the factory because they're making, let's say, screws for Russian washing machines that nobody's going to need. And so it's not only that they lose their job, but they also lose their how you say for 30 years they've been doing that job. Yeah. So their self-esteem is kind of like what you did for 30 years is worth shit. Mm. And it went very, very quickly. And a lot of people were left there. I mean, to rot kind of. I mean, and it went too quickly. We didn't take the people who just wasn't ready for all of a sudden this kind of new economy that's very quick. And
it changed everything. It was just a sweeping force. But then what does this, what can we call it? Romance, passion, lust, that flourishes between these two lead characters who are different ages, of course, is a huge age gap. But what does this represent? Is this another way of representing the overwhelming, power of what was going on at the time? I
mean, to be honest, it's an amour fou. That's such a great French, distinction of it. It's amour fou is crazy love. It means it's a love that's so intense and it's always eye to eye, but is so intense that it can only end badly. Someone's going to get burned. It's amour fou expression. And of course, an amour fou is totally timeless and global. I mean, it happened in 1600s and will happen 5,000 years from now if ever we still exist as human beings. Mm-hmm. It happens in Saudi Arabia as if it happens in Patagonia or in Galway or, in Berlin. It's the same thing as young men falling in love with an older woman or anything, any kind of amour fou, even though if it's forbidden, society doesn't want it, it will still happen. There's nothing we could change about that. Why that it happens in this time, it makes even more the sense. I mean, for Maria, because everybody is so, as I said, involved in their own situation in this new world, in this new country, that nobody takes care of her. Mm. She's like, Maria is not a normal kind of 18, 19-year-old who goes with her moped, sees her friends' parties and dances and discos. She prefers to not go to school because half of the teachers went off to the West anyway. Nobody cares. Nobody says anything. And just read her Dostoevsky novel, the Brothers Karamazov. And her boyfriend was very sweet and all and likes her. And she's very practical for him because he could continue into his research, his identity as a photographer. Nobody sees her. So there is everything is opened for her to start this affair, which is, of course, on one hand, totally forbidden because of her boyfriend and this family who took her on, and forbidden because he's twice her age. And they start with Henna, this affair, which is without words, you'd say. There's no dialogues. It's really the bodies that speak. They really speak. Not only the bodies, but the way they react to each other, especially in the beginnings, the way it's a give and take, the way he seats her down, the way he, in the beginning, gives her a glass of vodka very slowly. She takes it, and she puts it down because she doesn't need any kind of substances to desire, basically. And it's what interested me. It's that though she's so much younger, and though he's very charismatic, but has something very dark as well, she is always the one the active one.
She knows what she wants.
She doesn't really know what it is,
empowered
but
position.
She's very, but without like voicing it, without being in a very subtle way. For example, he goes into his room and he lets her in the kitchen. If she could flee.
Yeah. Is this the woman perspective that you were talking about earlier? That's perhaps lacked in the past, in past representations of amour fou, like you said,
totally,
in cinema?
Totally. I've missed it as a young woman going to the cinema. Yeah. It was almost always the perspective of young men and their maybe desires and crazy desires and mad desires. And it's like, yeah, it's normal, 18-year-old is allowed to try out with anything he wants. And, he has to try out. But it's as if young women are not allowed to try out or don't have these fantasies, these sexual fantasies. Sorry, world. Young women have really weird fantasies, or not weird, even if they don't maybe go there yet or something, And cinema is also a way of us. I mean, as a young woman, I would love to see a film like that, because you kind of, even if you're not ready yet, you kind of see that and think, oh, wow, is that possible? Oh, no, I wouldn't like somebody like that. It's so important to show all these perspectives.
Yeah. Emily, we're going to have to wrap it up, but it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Next up is a conversation about Silver Haze, one of the films from this year's Panorama strand of the Berlinale, with its director Sacha Polak and protagonist Vicky Knight. A fascinating blend of real life and fiction, Silver Haze centres on 23-year-old Frankie, a nurse who lives with her large family in an East London borough. Obsessed with a thirst for revenge and a need to assign guilt for a traumatic event that happened 15 years before, she is unable to build any meaningful relationship until she falls in love with one of her patients, Florence. The story is based on improvisations and recollections of true events from Vicky Knight's life, while the sensual camera captures images that are immediate and raw, but also gentle and poetic. I spoke with Polak and Knight about Silver Haze, their second collaboration, following the previously released Dirty God. Sacha, Vicky, welcome to the Showcast and welcome to Berlin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to be here.
Yeah.
It's nice to get an opportunity to chat with you about your latest work, Silver Haze, that's being presented here at the festival. I loved it. I watched it and I thought it was great. And it's a second collaboration between the two of you, right?
Yes, it is.
So I want to take it, I want to start from the very beginning. I mean, how did you guys meet? Because I don't know the whole backstory and maybe some of the listeners don't either. How did you meet? How did you decide to collaborate together?
So I made a film called Dirty God. And for that film, which is about a young woman who's the victim of an acid attack, I was searching for a burn survivor. And so we found the casting director. And we found Vicky at that time, and she was such a strong actress, and it was a success. And we traveled the world together, and Vicky just told her stories, and that was sort of the start of this film and the inspiration for it.
Vicky, how do you remember that first meeting and the subsequent experience then?
Well, when I was first approached, I thought it was a scam. And I ignored it for a whole year, and I kept getting emails and phone calls, to meet up with the casting director. Anyway, I got a phone call and I answered, and Sacha flew over a few days later, and that's how it all started. Yeah.
But then, it seems to me this collaboration also is a blend of cinema, of art, and real life. And it seems to me like it would be a fun experience, but also maybe like psychologically a bit challenging too, right?
With Dirty God, it was quite challenging because obviously it was my first ever role. When I first done Dirty God, it was very difficult, psychological in that way, because I wasn't an actress and I was showing my scars off to the world, and I'd hid my scars for a long, long time, for like 15, 16 years. And then, so I couldn't really adjust to the fact that everyone was going to see what I was hiding. But with Silver Haze, I think so much stronger in the mind. And with Dirty God, I've said it in my previous interviews and I'll continue to say it, but Dirty God and Sacha and Marlene, the Dutch producer, saved my life basically from giving me this opportunity, because I was in a very dark place. And now, I'm
at the Berlinale too.
Yeah.
It's not bad, you know. But Sacha, it's interesting. Vicky said that the experience made her stronger. Do you feel that you felt stronger too in this second collaboration together, and that somehow the previous work on Dirty God, the experience of working on that made you stronger?
I think it's always very interesting to work a second time with an actor, and I think our relationship is much stronger. We know each other much better than when we started at Dirty God, and Vicky was so much stronger and so much more confident. So that was lovely to work and to see.
So before we carry on, actually, it would be good to kind of provide some type of an introduction to Silver Haze, from a narrative perspective. Maybe what's this film about? What do you see being the narrative core of this movie?
So Silver Haze is about a young woman who's very traumatized by a past situation, and she has to come to terms with this, actually. She falls in love for the first time with her first big love, and who takes her to Southend, where she finds a sort of patchwork family that helps her come to terms with her past, basically.
It's about human connection too, right? And how difficult. Sometimes it feels like it just seems so difficult to have that human connection, and for that human connection to endure over the time, right? I mean, is that a key? Am I right in finding this as a key point in the film too?
Yeah, I think so. It's, the film has many themes, and I think this is definitely one of them. They're all characters that are sort of lost as well, and trying to find grounding.
So another thing about this film is there's a lot of characters, a lot of actors. And Vicky, from your perspective, I mean, you seem to be sort of the person that interacts with every one of them in one way or another. Those connections are either bad or good. I mean, over the course of the film, we traverse several different emotions. But what's that like for you to interact with people? And again, we go back to that blend of real life and acting. Is there a balance to kind of achieving that?
Yeah, I mean, with Silver Haze, I've got my real family in it as well. So my real brother, Billy, my sister Charlotte, and my nephew, Mason, is all in the film. So it's such a crazy experience to have this opportunity to be able to share my story and have them involved, and working with other actors as well. They were absolutely amazing. Esme was incredible. I couldn't have asked for a better on-screen girlfriend, to be honest. She smashed it. The lady, Terry, who plays my mum as well, she was just absolutely amazing. Everyone smashed it. So,
what's that like, for your family as well to be kind of part of this? Because, I mean, we talked about your experience, but did you feel also that having them be part of this process is kind of them revisiting the past in this way, or just, acting out their life? Do you feel that it has had an impact on their lives as well?
To be honest with you, since we've done Silver Haze, we've become so close. Like, it's really brought my family together. And Silver Haze goes on, it's a journey, and a lot of things have happened and whatever, but yeah, it's just, I am so proud of my whole family, and the opportunity that was given is just incredible.
Sacha, where do you think this idea of cinema, because I mean, it's a very strong conceptual idea of cinema, this blending of real life and fiction. Where do you think that comes from for you?
I was raised by two documentary filmmakers, so I think that's somehow in my genes. So I think my interest lies in that, and that I just thought this is a special story and it needs to be told in this way.
Is that meeting ground? I mean, well, we have the coffee coming in. We must get that coffee rush going. So is the improvisation a meeting ground between the 2 points, a key meeting ground between the 2 points when we talk about your film, this type of filmmaking?
I think you are right about that. I think it brings honesty to the acting and to the feelings at that moment. So yes.
Is there any type of preparation for this approach? And I'm thinking as well about, the cast, because, a lot of the, we're not talking about the traditional type of acting that we associate with, Laurence Olivier or something. This is something else entirely. So is there a type of preparation that goes on?
So what we did with this film is I wanted to be very free, and I didn't want to have a big crew. So it's a very low budget film with a very, very small crew. But the only thing I wanted was many shooting days, so as many as possible. And that gave us sort of time to explore to go into different directions. So it was very free form, basically.
Right. So the key was to shoot a lot also.
Yes, to shoot a lot and to try things out while we were going, basically.
Right. Vicky, we talked about working on the film, but then there's another side to it. There's seeing the film on the screen. And I think that, if I was to be a part of a project like this, it might be kind of a strange experience or, very, very powerful experience. What was it like for you the first time around? And have you already seen this film? And what's it been like so far in that particular aspect of it?
So I got to see the film in London with my family, with some of the cast and some of the English crew as well. To be honest, when I first see it, I was so nervous, because it's kind of like my story's out there now, and it took me a few days for it to settle with me. And then when I watched it last night on the big screen with a real audience, and the reactions that we got, people laughing, and I see a few people were crying, and it was just absolutely, like, I literally sat back and I was looking at my brother and my sister, and I was just thinking, wow, we've actually made a movie, and it's just crazy.
Yeah. And it's traveling all over the world. It's another thing, right? It seems there's an overwhelming side to it as well. But is this a project that's going to be ongoing, a collaboration that will be ongoing? Are you already thinking of more?
I hope so. I'm not. I don't have a project yet, but let's hope so.
Right. Well, we'll look forward to seeing whether that'll happen. But in the meantime, Vicky, aside from these projects, has acting become part of your life? Is this something that has become part of your visions of yourself in the future? Yeah,
I work in a hospital. That's my day job. I'm a healthcare assistant in the emergency department. So I've been doing that for 10 years. And then obviously being an actress and being a nurse is two different lives. It's two different jobs. And if I can be a full-time actress, then so be it. But I will take everything and anything with both hands. And the way I can express myself in front of a camera is just, I love it. I absolutely love it. So let's hope that the career will take hold.
We're going to have to wrap it up, but it's been a pleasure speaking with you, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Showcast, and look forward to more podcasts from the 2023 Berlin International Film Festival and the 2023 European Film Market coming at you real soon. And don't forget to check out other episodes of the show that have been previously uploaded if you haven't done so already. Till the next time, this is Matt Micucci signing off. See you soon.